Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele and I will be your nerd today and every other day that you watch one of my weird shows. So today's going to be a strange day because I am swamped. I've got a ton of things to do. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But I wanted to basically kind of show you what's been going on in my brain for the last couple of days. And in my general person. This is going to lead into a couple of shows, a couple of episodes here in the next few that I'm actually going to, make, hopefully, they'll be the actual topics for our shows. So let's start off with the week in Bryan like we normally do. Let's see. I got to play my D&D cat monk. And I did and I didn't. We were at the game session, but this particular game session was it was part of not a car chase, but a carriage chase. One of the members of our party was scooped up and stolen off down the road. On fast horses, and we obviously wanted to go catch up and save him, but we had this situation where at least two of us, myself and a gnomish artificer, have wagons full of all of our stuff driven by mules and donkeys, so not anything super fast that can race off after the riding horses. And so there was a bit of a conundrum where the players were like, well, we don't want to let them get away, but we also can't leave behind thousands of gold pieces worth of wagon and stuff and things, and even more so, my wagon is mostly just for transport, but I care so much for my mules. I did not want to let them just let them free. But the artificer's got like thousands upon thousands of gold pieces worth of stuff in his carriage. So he couldn't just leave it behind. And even when I was like, hey, can we pay somebody to watch our stuff? He was like, I don't know about that, because unless we paid them a bazillion gold pieces, they're going to see this guy's cart and they're going to go, well, this is worth more than what they paid us. Let's just, amscray. Who wants to be a farmer anymore when we got a bucket full of magic items? So we basically made the decision that the members of the party that were not tethered to wagons should ride on ahead, or in this case, because of some summoning spells, fly on ahead, and catch up with our missing party member. And that, if they could just hold them up, stymie them, entangle their horses, whatever, we would catch up afterwards. And what ended up happening is that they got into their conflict, which was pretty cool. Diving in on their giant eagle mounts to stop them from getting away. And the dungeon master let us know that the artificer and myself would be here in 10 rounds. Which, as you know, that can be a really long time in some combats. But we were aware of it. This was our choice, so we were kind of spectators to the sport kind of thing. But it was an awesome combat. It was basically a druid and a rogue riding in on giant eagles to save a sorcerer who was being whisked away by a warlock and a vampire thrall on horseback. So, one of the warlock, cast sleep on one of the eagles and it came plummeting to the ground. It was a really cool fight. The DM felt really bad that, it took all of our game session was that fight and then us catching up and then being like, yay, you made it! And that was pretty much all the game session. He felt super bad that the artificer and myself didn't get into the combat, or didn't really get to play in the session. But, it was so cool, it didn't matter. We get to watch some really amazing things. The rogue taking a diving jump off of a swooping eagle to backstab a vampire thrall, who then turned around and starts biting him. And it was really a cool combat. And more than anything, we the story has progressed to the point where we saved our sorcerer friend. He is, he's safe, but now we have this question of do we push forward and try and, because we know who was claiming him, who took him. Do we push forward and go deal with this vampire chick problem, or do we go back to the town we just came from, shore ourselves up, get ourselves prepped for the next wave of people who are coming to try and take him, and deal with it that way. So we're in a really cool kind of crossroads for our group, and the dungeon master actually literally this afternoon texted all of us and was like, that was a really amazing scene, that was really cool, everybody level up. So we even though the artificer and myself were not part of it, we all leveled up together. It was all part of a team group milestone moment, and I think now, for a little while we kind of been taking odd jobs and just sort of like making money, trying to buy magic items, things like that, the leveling up part of D&D. But I think now we know kind of what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to go after this vampire countess person, and see what's what. So here's to hoping we play again this weekend. We'll see how that goes. We did not get to play our Curse of Strahd game because life gets in the way, and a couple of the players in that game are students, master level, like they're working on their masters, it's some pretty significant stuff. So when they say they can't play, we're not going to penalize them and be like, well, we're going to play without you. Generally speaking, we go, you know what, it can wait a week, no big deal. So instead, I got to hook up with one of my friends, and we've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves, video game wise, which apparently there's a Sea of Thieves role-playing game that I somehow snuck in under the radar. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it is. I don't know who makes it. But if somebody has an extra copy of that laying around that they would love to send me, I would love to take a look at this, because I love the Sea of Thieves world, and I think that it'd be a lot of fun maybe to run a convention game or something like that, when we get conventions back, or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much all the gaming I've done. Played a couple of board games, played some video games. There is a board game that we play with my kids. My wife and I play with our kids. It is called Kids versus Parents. It's a trivia game. And basically the whole point of the game is each card has questions for kids and has questions for parents. The idea being that the topics are more leaned towards, if they're questions that are being asked of the children, they're more parental type questions. So it's going to be about, maybe like about things that they should. It's not like crazy hard on them or anything, but like occasionally it'll ask something that they might not necessarily have a deep understanding of, but a good idea, or some multiple choice questions. It'll be like, is this or this, because they might have heard that in passing, or maybe they saw it on TV or whatever. And then the parents' questions have a lot to do with like pop culture and movies and comic books and things like that, which does kind of give our side a little bit of an edge, because Natalie and I are big pop culture junkies, and there are times when the kids will draw a card and be like, oh, you guys are going to get all of these, because you ask 3 questions at a time and you move your little pieces and whatever. We played that this week, and parents won. But it's interesting playing a trivia game these days. It is interesting to see certain questions that when I look at them, I go, kids would never get this, because they just in the last couple of years since this game has been out, they haven't been exposed to this sort of thing at all. There's no reason for them to know this. And occasionally when that happens on some of the cards, we might give them a hint or something like that, if it's really something that we're like, there's no possible, like they've never been exposed to this before, like not even in passing, like one of those we'd be like, yeah, maybe if you watched the Game Show Network and listen to all the Family Feud questions or something like that. But either way, I listen to some of these cards and I go, man, I wonder how many trivia games out there that where the cards are really just outdated, like outdated to the point of uselessness. Just made my brain wonder. Work-wise, it has been a crazy week. I have it on good authority. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers role-playing game is the designing and writing of it is basically done. Now it's into like layout and stuff and editing and all the rest of that process that people forget takes months and whatnot. But what we've created is, I'm so proud of it. I know. I say that every time about anything that I've worked on, but I really am very proud of this. When we made the decision, when management made the decision to not do this as a 5e system clone, but instead have us make our own role-playing game engine that would be used for this and other genres to make them cooperative, I was ecstatic. I know there were several people on the team that were like, "But we did all that work for 5e." It gave us an opportunity to make something our own, or legitimately our own product that is not been seen before, with mechanics that have not been seen before, but still familiar enough to role players that hopefully they'll be able to take a look at these books and hit the ground running and go, "Oh, I get it." When we get a chance to run these in conventions or online or whatever, I can't wait. And I think that people are really going to take to it. I hope. Obviously, having a very large part in its design, I hope people like it. Please like it. Amazon and Yelp reviews, please. Google reviews, not Yelp. You don't Yelp a role-playing. Yelp, the role-playing game. What the hell am I doing? Let's see. Yeah, so that's because of the work on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game is coming to that part. I've already moved on to my next part of my next Renegade project, which is actually like adventure writing and stuff. Like I get to use, and at this point my part of the team, we've made that system, and so now I get to use that system to create cool things, and so pumped. My next handful of months, for the foreseeable future, I'm going to be able to play with our system in various genres and things, and I'm really psyched. Again, I really like the system we've created. I can't tell you anything about it yet because marketing has not given us the green light. But believe me, when I can, I will have an entire episode dedicated to telling you how our system works and what makes it so much cooler than the average bear, so to speak. Yeah, so that's that. Been slugging along on some on Spycraft stuff. I am at a place with Warzone that is, in fact, we had a, and I don't want to call it a hiccup. That's not right. There was a wrinkle that showed up when in the round, the kind of the most recent rounds of playtesting, that showed to Alex and myself that while we loved the system we had made, we loved everything that was happening, and the playtesters were really happy, there was still room for some streamlining and some room for improvement, and a way for us to help the fabricators and the manufacturers and the models make a tighter, better product box for when we start putting out units and stuff. Ow, I just stuck my thumb in my eye. There was some discussion about it because it's going to be a little more work, to go back and fix some of the statistics and alter how some of the units are put together. But the end result, I think, is definitely going to be a much cooler product. And not to mention, Not to mention, I think it will also be... It will also lend itself to players wanting to branch out and buy more units. And that's not just a profit thing. I'm not being like, it makes them want to buy more. No, what I'm saying is it gives players a reason to want to field more than one type of unit, more than just, why if I'm playing Bauhaus, why don't I just play nothing but Rangers? Because Rangers get all the stuff. Well, this kind of rule alteration and this force allocation alteration is going to point out the fact that it's like, hey, there might be a reason why you want to field maybe a couple of Rangers, a couple of Blitzers, get into Toilus Mortant in there, like that kind of thing, rather than being like, well, I can do everything I want with my Rangers. Why would I branch out? So, which if you want to, you can totally field all Rangers. Nothing wrong with that. But it is going to leave you with a couple of holes that you won't be able to fulfill with just Rangers, because they are a particular type of specialist, just like, for the Capital, Martian Banshees are a particular type of specialist, or the Free Marines are a particular type of specialist, or a particular type of unit. And I think that this change that we're making, again, I'm being vague because you guys aren't under NDA. You're on YouTube. Why would you be on an NDA? But this change that we're making is going to help it's going to help kind of usher people into realizing, oh, this is why I would field a mixed force. Why I wouldn't just field a squad of these guys. These are the reasons why I would mix and match some of these forces to make more of a mission team rather than a battlefield squad. If that makes any sense. I think it should. I think it does. I think it does too. But regardless, Warzone's coming along wonderfully, and the playtesters are sending us back reports all the time. Sometimes it's not even a report. Sometimes I've gotten several messages over Facebook that are basically just one particular person. I'm not going to say who they are because I don't want to embarrass them or out them as a playtester. But they actually sent me a message that said that they were so happy with the new. They've been a Warzone fan since Target First Edition. So they've been with this game in some capacity for almost 20 years, that they, if not longer, got at this point, 23, 24 years, that they are, that they're looking at these new rules and they're seeing this new stuff, and that they have no question this is going to be one of their favorite games again. Warzone is going to rise to the top of their favorite game section again, and that what we've created is honest and truthful enough to the original games and the original like stories and canon that even though it is a new system and it is a new rule set and it's a new look at an older game, that there's no question that we have the love and the respect for the license, and that what we've created is going to keep a lot of those people happy and make a lot of those people that maybe never got to play in the first and second editions, they've only ever seen the later stuff, have this new love and respect for the Mutant Chronicles and Warzone as an IP. It was a very flattering message, and it made me very happy. One of the lines in the message was very specifically that there was no question why Alex hired me to do this. That my love for the license and my experience with the license shows in what we've created, and that hands down was one of the nicest things that anyone could say. You know who you are. If you watch my show, I'm pretty sure you watch my show. If you don't, it's going out into cyberspace. But it really did. It took a kind of a blah morning and turned it into a really, really nice one. So thank you very much. Yeah, that's basically been my work. I still have some painting commissions. I need to get caught up on my painting stuff. I have an old client that just contacted me that wants me to paint a bunch of Blood Bowl minis that look amazing. They're off-brand Blood Bowl, but they're cool, and I need to get caught up on a couple of things. Part of the problem, honestly, is ever since I got the 3D printer, thank you, whoever you are, I've been printing like a madman. I've been playing with STL files and screwing around with the stuff from Loot Studios, and I sent the Dragon Bust to Bethany from last week's episode. Basically, I've been having so much fun with this, partially because I'll mention later on what one of the things that I've been doing when I start getting into the meat of the topic. But I've burnt through a ton of resin, which is also why if there's a weird hum, I've got my exhaust fan running because the printer is in the room with me, and I didn't want to close my window and turn my exhaust fan off while it was printing, because apparently the fumes are super bad for you. You know, I don't want to die. You guys don't want me to die either, I hope. That'd be an interesting YouTube video. Professional nerd dies of asphyxiation on camera. So my hobby rig, the whole area over there is just covered in printed parts of a project that I'm working on. A very large and extensive project that I'm going to talk about later. Because there's only so much room on the hobby area, I haven't gotten into any painting lately, and I need to, because I've got a commission waiting for me, and I need to get cracking on it, because it's gonna be cool. It's amazing. It's an amazing model anyway, but I need to finish it, because the printing can wait. I think after this run of prints, I should be able to assemble a lot of stuff, set it off to the side, and then dive back into the painting, because I really want to be able to tell the Blood Bowl client that I can take those teams off his hands to get him started. All right, so that's pretty much been the week in Bryan. I've got like I said, today's episode is weird because I don't really talk about a topic. I just kind of want to show some stuff off. I just want to kind of, it's almost like a week in Bryan, the full episode, because it's been so much, the last week has been so crazy in good ways. So later tonight, I get to be part of a playtest for a convention game that is going to be coming up down the road. As run by our esteemed I think he's still, I know he was the creator of the owner of Gen Con for a while, and I'm not sure if he still is, but he's definitely the owner and creator of Chaldea, Peter Atkinson, which we're playtesting his one of his convention sessions tonight, and I'm excited. I get to play a character who I think on paper is supposed to be very goofy, like kind of a goofball, and so I'm going to try and play him as the straight man who doesn't know he's being goofy. You know, the everything I'm doing is funny, but I don't know why. Why are you guys laughing? You know, that sort of thing. So we'll see how that goes. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Just a handful of hours. Not an ongoing campaign, not a long-standing thing. Just a little convention game to test out whether or not this is a cool thing for Peter to run at shows. So I'm excited. I think that'll be a lot of fun. And then tomorrow I've got the D&D where I'm the now 7th level dancing cat monk. Which is so cool. 7th level, I didn't realize gave me evasion. I've never played a monk this long, so I didn't know that I get an evasion like rogues do, and that's cool. But also that we're about ready to go into fights with. Oh my game man! If you're my dungeon master, hit mute for like the next 10 seconds. Stillness of mind, where I can just spend an action and not be charmed or not be frightened. How awesome is that against vampires? That's going to be so good. He's going to be like, look into my eyes, and I'm like, nah. How about punch you in the face? Meow. So yeah, I get to play that tomorrow night. And then this Saturday, it's been so long, but we're actually going to get to play another session of the family D&D game. I am stoked. It's always stressful because the kids don't necessarily want to sit still, and my wife is the world's most meticulous note taker down to individual actions during combat. My brother from another mother, David, who is my son's godfather, just kind of goes along for the like. There's a lot of times where he'll just do something and he'll be like, "What's going on?" And he's like, I just felt like it." So it's a crazy game, but I've been looking forward to it. I'm happy that we get back that we can get back to it. I got to research my notes because it's been so long since we've played. I don't remember exactly what was going on, but I'm pretty sure that they're about ready to just get into like the big city, like they're about ready to enter the big city, and this is their first time in the city. So most of this session is probably end up being the run around, shopping, getting rumors, all that kind of stuff. That's what I assume, and for them to hopefully learn a little more about the plot, the bad guy, so to speak. So that's the most. And then on Sunday, I don't think we have anything planned on Sunday. I think Sunday might be my day of rest, so to speak, of just kind of chillax and maybe play some video games or something, or maybe catch up on that painting that I was talking about. But yeah, so all right, all of that aside, that's basically the week in Bryan and the upcoming stuff of Bryan. Today's episode, I said today, the title of today's episode is All the Toys! Because for what it's worth, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but this week I had so many shipments of things and so much stuff just kind of all sort of collide all at once. Sorry about that. So sorry about that. All the toys. I don't know why everything kind of weird and came together. Everything came together all at once this week or so. There were not really the last 2 weeks, but a bunch of shipments came in. My local group of friends, we all kind of got ourselves talked into playing another game. I finally got some of my stuff in from a past order that was backlogged forever. But I just wanted to show you some of the stuff. Again, this whole Tales from a Professional Nerd thing came together originally as a way for me to just sort of tell you how a freelancer lives. And although I've had steady work now from a couple of different companies, for a while, and hopefully, ad nauseum, it doesn't change the fact that, when it comes down to it, I still live the life of a freelancer when it comes to kind of like where my mentality is. And some of that is I'm always looking for, games come and go. This week alone, I sold some of my old BattleTech stuff. I sold my old Infinity stuff because I haven't played Infinity in years. And honestly, the last time that I tried to play Infinity, I got so bogged down in the rules and question as a designer. This is a big thing that happens with designers, by the way, is when we play games, half the time, unless it is just to kick back and enjoy ourselves, we can't help it but pick apart the rules in our head and go, God, this would be better, this would be different, this is what we should do. Man, I wish that this rule would make this game go so much faster, or whatever. And we don't mean to do it. It's part of our process. We make games for a living. I would assume that someone who drove for a living, like raced cars or whatever, as soon as they got behind the wheel or got into passenger seat with someone else behind the wheel, they would probably immediately start judging them or commenting or making note of how they operated their vehicle. It's the same idea. This is what we do for a living. So when we engage with other people's work, we can't help it but kind of focus on it a little bit, pay attention to it, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I sold a bunch of my old games. I haven't played Infinity in a long time, and the last time I didn't have a great time because I didn't necessarily take to the way the new rule set had bent. I sold a bunch of unpainted night model stuff for similar reasons. I'm not a big fan of where things are going with that game. I'm saving my painted stuff for hopefully, not only because I really enjoy the painted stuff, but I also, a lot of those guys have got rules for the DC Superheroes game, which I think is really good. I think Night Models did a great job on the DC Superheroes game, whereas their third edition of their Batman game is I'm very unhappy with. There's no question. In fact, it's a internet labeled fact at this point. I'm not happy with where they took the Batman game as a company, as a marketing structure, and as an actual rule set. I think that it's a mess. And so I sold all my unpainted stuff because I know I was never going to get around to it. I have no reason to. I have no gumption to go that route, because half the stuff they're not even making rules for anymore because there's not a third edition version of it yet, and unless you want to use fan conversions, which, all right, I'm going to go on a little mini tirade here. If your game, as a company, if your game requires your fan base to do your job for you, you've failed your game. Period. Or you've chosen to make it that way. You've chosen to ignore a section of your existing game audience, or you've chosen to say, we don't want to support that old game anymore, this is the new game, ignore all the old stuff. Which, if that's the case, if that's what you want to do, then you do it, and you say it, and you openly, there's just no question, because this is how it is. You don't leave there this like nebulous, well, we love the fact that the fans are building up all the stuff. If you're still putting out the game, put out the game. If you're still letting people use old models, let people use old models on an official basis. Don't force your fans to do your job for you. All right, I'm done. I'm done. Rant over. Well, because we were trimming out a bunch of this stuff, we've been talking. But we've been talking with my playtesters, my local game group, and we talk a lot online, and one of the things that we started talking about is a new. There's a game. Well, first off, a lot of them play Age of Sigmar. I had not. My Song of Ice and Fire, which I started when I was at CMON, because I was part of that playtesting team, part of the very initial rules development, but then it was, as in, I think I took a look at the rules as a single pass, and then that was really it. And then it went off to other people and had nothing to do with me anymore. But I thought that, that was going to scratch my fantasy itch, the Song of Ice and Fire game. It did not. For many, many reasons. It just really, it doesn't do it for me. So I started looking into Age of Sigmar. And initially I started looking into the Ideneth Deepkin, the Sea Elves, because, frankly, I'm a Atlantis, freak, obviously, Aquaman. But I quickly realized that the Sea Elves were not the Atlanteans that I wanted, if that makes any sense. They had a big cool turtle, but like riding around on eels and fishes and sharks in a land-based game felt weird. If you want to have cool water elves, that walk up onto land, or like in the case of the turtle, don't have him fly. Make it like it's a sea tortoise war engine. But yeah, the sharks and the fishes and the eels and stuff that are just kind of flying through the air, not drowning for no reason other than hand wave magic. It lost me. That's not the Atlanteans that I like. Now, underwater, absolutely, ride around on sharks and seahorses and all kinds of cool stuff. But I think that I would have been happier if maybe they had like technological versions of those things to go on land, or maybe if they were leaned more towards like crustaceans, things that walked, or like an octopus, like tentacles crawling, or whatever. Basically, it's a land-based game, so having a bunch of flying sharks and eels around, cool-looking models, but it just did not do it for me. So I sold off what I had, and I just kind of ignored Age of Sigmar for a while. I was like, you know what? I don't need to play another fantasy game. I'll just wait. And wait a little more. And then I saw a model show up on one of the Warhammer community pages of Sigvald, the Prince of Slaanesh. That model is so gorgeous. And I don't mean that like, he's so pretty. I mean like, just as a model, I want to paint him. I want to paint him twice. Like he's just beautiful. And of the Chaos Gods, Slaanesh has always spoken to me. Anyway, I've painted multiple Slaanesh commissions. My first wife had an entire Slaanesh demon army that I did conversions and painting for. So it's always spoken to me. And then they put out images of the Orvolos the Glutton or whatever, this giant fat mutant thing on a palanquin drawn by Chaos Ogres. Oh my god, no, it's just amazing. And so these models, they spoke to me, they drew me in, and I was like, you know what? That's my Age of Sigmar army. So, sure enough, I picked up the Hedonites of Slaanesh book, started reading, love GW's stuff, as always. Always happy with what they do when it comes to the creative side of things. It's so beautiful. Their models are gorgeous. I started picking up a few models this weekend. One of my friends has a whole bunch of demonettes that he's going to give me. So hopefully we'll maybe tell you about how Age of Sigmar goes here relatively soon. But at the same time as talking about the Hedonites of Age of Sigmar, because it is a Games Workshop game, and therefore pretty expensive to just go, I want to do this, and drop all the money on. I'm gonna slow build my Hedonites. I'll pick up a few boxes at a time. Am I getting them? I'm not even gonna remotely do the whole, I won't buy any more until what I have is painted. I can't do that. I paint for commissions. I don't have that kind of time. I want to play the game. So no, I'm not gonna make that promise. But I'm also not going to go out and spend several $100s buying an army all at once. I'm gonna pick it up piecemeal and maybe play some smaller games, get a feel for it. Who knows? I might get on the table, play these a couple of times, and go, man, I don't like Age of Sigmar. I don't think so. I have a feeling I'm going to probably have a good time. But just in case, I don't want to have several $100s worth of stuff that I now go, all right, who wants this at a huge discount? And then I just lose out. So we're going to slowly build up on that. There is one box of stuff that I'm trying to... I don't want to spend eBay... I don't want to pay eBay prices for it, but the Eternal Battle Spells or whatever of the Hedonites of Slaanesh, those are pretty cool. They're like big models for the spells that you can buy. It's an Age of Sigmar thing that I didn't know about before, that are basically like models that you add to your army that are spells that your dudes can cast, if that makes any sense. One of them is like this giant demonette face with like tentacle tongues, and it's cool. I think those are going to be really neat when I eventually get my hands on them for less than like $50 on eBay. But yeah, so while this is going to be a slow build, one of the other things that one of my locals were talking about is that somebody, I'm not sure how it came up, but somebody started talking about Conquest by Parabellum, which is a fantasy rank and file game. But in a 32 or 36 millimeter scale. So they're larger models, but they're all fantasy models. So it's like, you're unlike other games where I may have alluded to the fact that a scale change for those forces are silly because the terrain isn't going to match. In this instance, it's a fantasy game, so the terrain is trees and hills and rocks and maybe a cottage. The chances are pretty good that, unlike a game where you might have to hide behind a car or mailbox, the scale of these things, if it's off by a few millimeters, no one's going to notice. These are slightly shorter trees, or this hill is slightly larger than it's supposed to be. Whatever. But it's a very cool game. Right now, it only has 4 armies out, but each army has like different factions or facets within itself. And they've already previewed one new army that looks fantastic. But then there's also like they've talked about what they're going to be doing over the next couple of years, and it's still a new enough game that, frankly, I haven't found an online resource where someone's like, this is the broken, take this army and it always wins. We haven't run anything like that. It seems like it's a pretty generally fair system. It's a weird system that's going to take some getting used to, but we decided to start talking about Conquest, and over the last couple of days, I've gotten some of my Conquest stuff in. I am going to play what are these guys called? The Dwagum? Yes, the Dwagum, the dwarves, and I'm focusing primarily on the fire and magma aspects of things, because one of my favorite models that they have is the Inferno Automata, basically like fire golems that run around killing stuff, and they're cool, they're neat. I've started picking them up. There's a model called the Herald of Fire. He's like this fighter, like his hands are on fire, and he's got like this fire axe. There's a model they haven't come out with yet called the Herald of Magma that I hope, I can just, in my mind, I can see that it's going to be like, his hands are all stony, and I'm hoping to be able to do a lot of really cool, like, source lighting painting on these guys. Because, again, they are slightly bigger models, so you have a little extra attention to detail on them. And for some things, like in the case of the Inferno Automata, this whole squad is 3 dudes. You can add a 4th, which brought me to my next awesome thing, which at some point I'll have to be a video in and of itself when I get a chance to do it, is, so I've talked to you guys before about my friends over at Turbo Dork, the Turbo Dork paint guys. While they are not a sponsor, they effectively are. Like, they may as well be. I can't actually say sponsored by, but they send me all of their product so I can paint with it on camera and tell people how cool it is. Definitely want to put their address in in today's description of the video, because it is so rad. The Turbo Dork stuff, they do such good stuff, and just very recently they made a business deal with the Conquest people to put out, getting kind of crazy shine, a paint set / Inferno Automata model. So basically it comes with one of those Inferno guys, and then the paints that they say this is a good paint set for you to use to paint it how they've shown here. While I will probably paint it slightly different than they do, I did promise the Turbo Dork guys, because they sent me this, is I am going to go ahead and do my Inferno, my whole squad of 4. I'm going to do them completely in Turbo Dork colors. I'm going to try and focus on using the ones that came in the box, but I will probably branch out a little bit here and there to do more stuff. But yeah, so it gives me a full squad of 4 of those guys, and from what I understand, they're badasses on the battlefield, so I'm happy with that. So more on Conquest in the future. I'll probably, when I eventually get the actual like rule book and stuff and tell you about the stories behind them or whatever, we'll probably dig a little deeper into that. But either way, I'm excited because it's a new game, but it's kind of a low model count. It's not like gigantic, and some of these models, like these fire forged. Initially, I honestly thought that they were just like close combat guys with fire weapons. They're not. They're actually ranged combat guys. Yeah, they're okay in close combat, but they're primarily ranged combat dudes. They've got bazookas on their shoulder. Like, no joke. They've got these giant like fire cannons on each one of their shoulders. So one of my first units that I bought is effectively like walking artillery. So we'll see how that goes. So as more toys can, let's keep bringing in the toy. Again, like I said, this episode is kind of weird because I just wanted to talk about what I've been doing. So a couple weeks ago, I told you that I played the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid board game for the first time with my son, and hopefully I'll be able to get to play more of it. Well, I picked up the Bulk and Skull Hero box for that game because first off, yeah, it's a comic relief thing. It was a Kickstarter add-on, but going through their combat cards for the game, they're actually totally capable. You want to take them both. They've got a bunch of cards that kind of cooperate with each other, but you don't have to. You could totally field one and not the other if, like, everyone else at your table is like, I've got these other Rangers I want to play. Obviously, you'd like to have them both together so they could use their cool kind of together powers. But even their together powers, if they're not together, are still pretty decent cards. So that's cool. That came in this week. So I'm looking forward to getting a chance to see those guys fielded at some point in the board game, which is just a lot of fun. By the way, if you haven't played that, or at least given it a look, like on YouTube or something like that, to see people playing it, it's a neat game. Jonathan he's really put a lot of thought into it. It's not only is he a gigantic Power Rangers fan, so everything that they put into it makes sense in the canon and whatnot, but it's actually got good mechanics, and they're not so obtuse of a board game that, like, after you've played it once or twice, I'm pretty sure you can just kind of roll into another game and just make it happen. So I got those guys in. Let's see what else. More toys. So I'm not sure. These came in. I did not order these. These are these were a gift from the Alpha Omega Hobby people. It is called the D10 System Ladies Rock game. It is a pirate-style swashbuckling fantasy game that is a D10 based, and obviously it's an independent company by Elysian Entertainment, and it's very Frazetta. It's a lot of scantily clad women and scantily clad men fighting against oversized monsters and bad guys that are evil to the core. But yeah, so there's the Ladies Rock main book. Under the Rose, it's a conspiracy source book, so you can basically turn your game into almost like a fantasy Illuminati. Who's working for who and why. Codex of Creatures, this is just a monster manual, and then Rook's Haven, which is a city source book. So it takes this place, this city of Rookshaven, and details it. So if you wanted to set a game completely in there, it's a thick book. You have everything you need to have a city, or have your fantasy city completely laid out. But yeah, so I haven't looked at the system. I haven't gotten into it. But I mean, for an independent game, some of the art is really, really good. Some of it is a little. Here, I'm going to set down the Chunky Boys book and just leave the regular Ladies Rock. But some of the art is, like I said, some of it's really tight. That's a cool cast of characters. If I could take a look at that picture and go, okay, there's antagonists in there, or perhaps it's the maybe that's the team. That's the party of heroes. But then there are also, let's see, there's also things like that super digitized half an apple, or this is just a super pixelated tree. You can't really tell on the camera, but that cattail. Is Is it cattail? Yeah. That cattail, it's a sugar stalk plant, but it's just really pixelated there. Again, some of the art, really good. Really, really good. And then, down the way, you'll run into a piece that is just very amateurish. But again, I can't complain. This is for instance, I don't want to show that one again. That's although it is amateurish, it's also a little risque. Again, like I said, kind of Frazetta-ish. But like, there are some pieces of art that are very, like, okay, this elven lass down here, she's very just plain lines. Same thing with like the fella here, just plain lines, no shading, no anything like that. He's just, there you go. But then there's good portrait art in here. It's just there's a lot of stuff collectively, but it seems to be a fun little fantasy game that I may try and put together like a little one shot for my friends. But those were a gift from the guys at Alpha Omega with a note attached to it that said, "One day you'll run this for us." So my goal is to eventually read all that stuff and one day run that for them and see what happens. But speaking of the Alpha Omega hobby people, who I love, they also got me my Star Wars edition. Got some toys this week. I got the Darth Maul and Sith Probe Droids Operative expansion, who looks amazing. He's got two ways to put him together, multiple ways to put him together. I don't know exactly how I'll do it, but I think I'm probably going to do it with his hand out like he's doing a force push. And then also picked up a couple of staps for my droids, which are great. They're just little fast-moving jet bikey type things. So yeah, that's just like kind of some of the collective toys that I got. But I had mentioned earlier that last week I showed you some of the cards from the Cursed Empire card game, and that I said that here shortly I'm going to be devoting an entire an entire episode to that license and to that card game and to just the Cursed Empire license in general. This week has been a lot of back and forth with Chris Loizu, the Cursed Empire's owner. And I have several things to print. I've got some more books headed this way. I have some neat things to show you. So probably not next week because I have to get some of this stuff printed, like professionally printed. My printer can't do that. But it probably maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'm going to do a completely Cursed Empire devoted episode. We're going to show off a bunch of really cool art, show you the card game, maybe even show you a couple of how the card game initially kind of functions. Definitely talk a lot about the license and where Chris is planning on taking it. Show off a bunch of cool art, tell you some cool stories. That'll be a lot of fun. One of the other things that I've been doing, I mentioned earlier that I've been 3D printing like a crazy person. Let me move my Conquest stuff out of the way so I can show you. I have been... So over the last, we'll say 5 months, I got it in my squirrely little brain that, during pandemic, during quarantine, what I would do is I would make 9th edition rules for 40k squats. So, not including lore, which is a completely different chapter that I have in progress, I have right here the 9th edition Squat Codex as created by Mr. Bryan Steele. Now, this is just the data sheets section. This is not data sheets and weapons and all that stuff. This is not command cards. This is not stuff for the Crusade games, which is all written as well. I want to say altogether the rules portion of the Bryan Steele 9th edition Squat Codex is 127 pages. I outdid myself. I put a lot of love into this, a lot of history. I did a lot of research, and we are now going to be starting into the playtest of it. Yes, I am well aware that it is 100% unofficial, that it is 100% fan-based, as that I am a fan. But my goal with this, I would love for somebody at GW to send me an email and go, hey, give us your squat stuff, because printing money. But the chances of that, someone reset the clock. What I would like this to turn into is something where other 40K fan communities, other 40K groups, playing groups, things like that maybe they either reach out to me and get their own copy of the Codex, because eventually I'm going to add the lore to it too. I eventually want this to be effectively a 100% free resource for people to play squats with their 40K friends. Whether it's a Crusade game, whether it's a however the case may be. I really put a lot of love into this. I can't tell you how long it took. I cannot tell you how much research I had to do. But I plan on eventually doing an episode basically discussing the lore aspect, how I had brought the squats back, how I see them fitting into the current 40K universe, and eventually make it so after we've done a little more playtesting to see how these rules work, to see if these points come together the way they're supposed to, eventually make it something that is out there for the world. Put it out there. Obviously I don't want a dime for it. It's not my IP. I just want to do something nice for the people out there that want to play squats. The people who out there who play 40K and enjoy just having a good time. And do I want these guys to show up at a tournament? Of course not. People are going to look at them and go, of course, if they did show up at the tournament and someone let them play, that would be awesome. But this is an utterly unsolicited attempt at me adding rules to the 40K universe, because it is something that I've always wanted to do, and I got this little inkling in my brain that squats needed the love. So I did it, and eventually I'll do an episode on this and talking about this project and everything we put together for it. I plan on doing some playtesting with it, and eventually, if people want to playtest it, if they want to take a look at it, send me your email, comment in the thing. I want this to spread. I would love for this to get far and wide. If someone where my name, Bryan Steele, a professional nerd, becomes synonymous with the best fan squat codex ever, and eventually, want Games Workshop to call me up and say, we want your squat codex, or whatever. Obviously, I'm being unrealistically joking, but you know what I mean. You know how it is. So we're bring us back around to why this is poignant for today's episode, is because I've spent the last week printing models for it. I have found all kinds of different STL files to do space dwarves of various kinds. I've used bits of my own for my bits tower. I've sliced some of my own files to make things to fit into this, and I'm slowly trying to make at least one of every unit in my codex, or at least something that will fit in as that unit on the battlefield. And do I see them ever getting painted? Kind of like the Hedonites sort of thing. Doubtful. But I would love to at least get them all primed, maybe, so you can see the detail on them or whatever, and as if I ever when I get enough to start playing games with them or whatever, I'll let you guys know how they do. We'll bring it up to speed and let you guys know. So tell your 40K friends that Bryan Steele's got the squat hookup. It's so silly. But yeah, so that's kind of like the reason why my printer has been running nonstop, is because I'm trying to put together enough official proxies, if that makes any sense. So I don't have to just basically say, hey, these Necrons are actually squats. I actually have, Space Dwarf models with las guns and things. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see them on the table at some point when I get a chance to play some more games with my locals. They all seem to be on board with me playtesting this weirdness with them. And again, if you're interested in taking a look at the rules and playtesting and letting me know how you guys come together with them, in the comments, leave me your email address and I'll fire over the file so you can start taking a look. Just make sure that you give me credit as you start telling people about the best 9th edition squat codex you've ever found, because it's gonna be. All right, so. Sorry earlier about the technical issue and the dogs and the barking and all that weirdness, but that's pretty much what I got for this weekend. And for this week, I just wanted to kind of sort of share with you what I'm up to, like what I'm doing as a freelancer. I'm getting ready to play games. I'm getting excited. I know I'm getting close to the next age category of people being able to get the COVID vaccination. I'm so excited to maybe eventually get a chance to start playing in stores and stuff again. I'm over this whole being stuck inside thing. I want to go out and do stuff. So I just kind of wanted to share with where I'm at and why I'm in such a good mood. I've got all these fun new toys that have all come in from various angles, and Kickstarters and projects and things. Work is going hard and steady. I forgot. I'm still working on the Shadowrun novel too. Everything is coming together. I'm very happy with how things are, I can't really put my other than wishing there were 36 hours a day instead of 24, probably wishing I had a little extra time to work out and get rid of some of this extra punch that I got going on. Life is pretty good right now as a freelancer, as a Bryan Steele. So we'll come back and tell you more in just a little while. But for now, I think we're gonna go ahead and call it a day. So please do me a favor, be safe. If you can get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you need to put yourself on a wait list or whatever, do so. Until that happens, and even a little bit afterwards, make sure you're wearing a mask out in public. We want to end this pandemic. We want to be able to get our lives back to some semblance of normal, and it would be really cool to have the conventions again and all of that sort of thing. But up until then, you know how it goes. Enjoy yourselves. Make the best out of the situation that you're in, but above all other things, get out there, have a good time, and play some games. We'll see you next week.